Blog Talk Radio, the world's largest online radio network.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Phantom Zone radio show. Our opening song was a wonderful version of the classic tune Under Pressure, performed by David Bowie and Annie Lennox from the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. A great song indeed.
Oh, yeah.
We have another fun-filled show for you all tonight, so sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Yes. Hello there, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Jay and I are really excited about our guest tonight, and especially since he's actually sick and under the weather, and he's being a trooper, and he made it to the show, so we really appreciate it. Oh, wow. And obviously he's an actor, writer, producer, and has been seen in shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, and can also be seen in the television shows Goodnight, Burbank, and The Bay, and films, and all kinds of great stuff. And we're very pleased to welcome Mr. Camden Toy to the show. Hello, Camden.
Hey, hi. Thanks so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. You've been involved with so many amazing projects, and we're really looking forward to learning more about them. But first, please tell us and our listeners a bit about yourself and where you're from.
Well, I originally grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania, sort of a rural area outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I grew up in a theatrical family. My father had been a makeup artist and an actor, and kind of got bit by the bug very early. Got into his makeup kit very early. Started playing with his makeup. And instead of him getting angry, he actually was like, "Hey, you want me to show you how to use that?" And I was like, "Okay."
Wow.
So he and I would sit at my mother's dressing table, and we would do makeup together. In third grade, I started studying acting, but also in third grade, a small summer theater started in our neighborhood called the Apple Hill Playhouse, and it was a playhouse started by 3 producers based out of New York. So every summer of my entire childhood, cast and crew, mostly made up of people out of New York, came into town, and my family befriended them, and they let me, pretty much a little kid, just hang out there every summer. And I basically grew up in the theater. I mean, it's just
wow.
Kind of crazy things. Yeah, it's not a lot of roles for me. There were a few here and there, but I learned about building sets and how to rehearse and how to build costumes and do makeup and how to clean the toilets. And
that must have been something, though, as a kid. Like, what a world to get to play in.
Yeah,
that was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. And it's also I didn't even think about this. I had this kind of best of two worlds in a way, because I lived in this very rural area. Right down the street there was a dairy farm. There were my friends up the street had chickens. There were fields. We used to play in fields and the woods, and yet there was also this summer theater that I would hang out at most of the summer. So I had this kind of juxtaposition of those two wonderful worlds, very, very rural, but very kind of worldly of the theater. And they changed shows every week. There was a new show every week. And unless it was extremely adult in nature, they would let me come and see it. And often, in fact, I would see the rehearsals, and I would see the dress rehearsal, and then I would see opening night. And so I saw the whole kind of process of how the whole thing came together, and how the sets were planned and built, and how they were set up, and how the old one was taken down, and I was working along with them, from the time I was very young. It was pretty wild.
Wow.
That sucks. They didn't let you go to the adult shows.
Well, things like adult nature, like Lady Chatterley's Lover, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. They thought, this little 10-year-old might not be able to really understand some of that stuff. So, I don't think there was anything, super adult about it in that, sexual kind of adult kind of stuff. But I think it was subject matter. I just don't think they just thought I probably wouldn't understand Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. They're probably right, but I would have loved to have seen a production of it as a kid, because I just think I love the play, and I love the film that they made of the play.
Right. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So your father was in the film industry?
No, it's kind of a funny story. He studied acting in the same class as Shirley Jones at the Pittsburgh Playhouse.
Oh, wow.
And he and Shirley were very good friends. And she went off to have this amazing film career, and he got my mother pregnant. With me. So, so I kind of came along. So that kind of squashed any kind of, he thought, well, I'm not going to be able to, how am I going to do this? But he was very good at makeup. So his teachers were like, Malcolm, you're probably going to have trouble making a living as an actor, but you're a really good makeup artist. Why don't, you might be able to do that. So he, through some kind of connection, he had some kind of business connection. I don't know how he did it. He got some connection to Wally Westmore at Paramount back in the mid to early 50s. And he went out there very briefly to L.A. and tried to make a go of it. Unfortunately, even with Wally's help, the Makeup Guild was closed, unofficially closed. I guess legally you can't say it's closed, but they weren't taking any new members. Now they can't say that, they can't quote that, but so anytime Wally tried to help him out and get him on the set, the guild would just close him down. It was pretty bad. Yeah, in fact, it's funny. I told Mark Westmore this. Mark is Wally's grandson, who was one of the editors on Angel. I met him years later. I told him that story, and he said, Camden, my grandfather signed his checks, Wally Westmore, under protest till the day he died because he hated what the guild was doing.
Wow.
So anyway, so unfortunately, my father didn't really get a chance to do that. So he did do a bit of theater here and there when I was growing up at doing summer stock and whatnot. So I did see him on stage periodically, but he never really got to, really do it full time, unfortunately.
Right.
But he certainly instilled his great love of it to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at how you just took that ball and ran with it.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I'm just going to continue on for you.
Well, it's kind of funny because I don't think there's a part of me that never thought I was really going to get an actor. I mean, it's just it just never seemed like it was going to happen because I had so many other interests, and it just seemed like such a pie in the sky kind of idea. But it kind of is what kind of I kept going back to, and everything. I do something else for a while. I owned a French restaurant for a while. I was in the wine business. There was a lot of different careers I've had. I was studying pre-med for a while. I did emergency medicine. There's a lot of things I did, but I kept somehow finding myself back.
Gravitating back towards that.
So, yeah, so finally I think one day I was feeling like, okay, I surrender. I said, okay. It's just kind of funny.
Wow. So what kind of a kid were you? What kind of a child were you?
What kind of kid? Oh, that's a pretty what do you mean by that?
Well, what do you want to tell us? Yeah.
Well, as a very young kid, I was pretty scared. Actually, I was kind of scared of the whole world, and I hate saying it, but I had a lot of fear. But I also had a huge amount of fascination with things, and I just loved anything theatrical, and I had a huge love for monster makeup and monster movies, and I just dove on Dick Smith put out a booklet called Dick Smith's Monster Makeup Handbook when I was about 10. Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine published it in magazine form. Yeah, so it was actually showed up on the magazine rack at our local little drugstore. I couldn't believe it. It was like, oh my God! And I just sort of dove on it. I was like, and they've since republished it, I think, in sort of hardback and also softbound back edition. But it was originally published in as a magazine. And I have no idea whatever happened to that old copy because it was so dog-eared and scraped up from the years of actually using it. But I just and I had a lot of fun playing. I had a huge imagination. So I used to spend a lot of time playing, out in the fields and woods, when I wasn't hanging out at the theater, Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's funny. I wasn't great at sports. My hand-eye coordination there was something very off. I don't know if I had a perceptual problem when I was a kid, but I did have a really innate I was really good at sort of gymnastic kind of stuff. Like I could do tumbling and stuff like that, and do flips and things that other kids often couldn't do. But I couldn't pick up a ball and throw it with any kind of accuracy, or catch a ball, or swing a bat and hit a ball in base. I was terrible at that. I mean, until I was until I was like in my early teens, and suddenly it was almost like one day my eyes and my body kind of came together, and I sort of suddenly saw it, and I was able to actually pick up a ball and throw it with accuracy.
They caught up with each other.
It was weird. But I always did have a very kind of innate feeling for my body, like in space and in motion, and which is a very different thing than, say, eye-hand coordination for throwing and catching a ball.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, what was who was the first actor or film that had a profound effect on you?
The one that I can really remember, I'm sure there's ones earlier, but the one that really had the really profound effect on me was Vanessa Redgrave's first film called Morgan. David Warner, Vanessa Redgrave, and if you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. It's black and white, super low budget British film. Just a wonderful, over-the-top, crazy, weird, and I just knew there was something very special about it. And I saw it very young. I remember watching it with my mother, like, "Oh, Mom, I've seen this. This is great." And as we were watching it, she was kind of like, "I don't know if you should be watching this," because it was not, it was not a walk in the park. It was an unusual film. And Morgan is, it's kind of questionable if he's actually sane, and David Warner's performance in it was just stunning, and it really always stayed with me. Also, at a very early age, I also saw the original Haunting, which was amazing. And it's funny, I had the pleasure of meeting and actually spending some time with Richard Johnson, who played the parapsychologist in that. He and his wife were spent about a half a year in L.A. about 2 years ago, and I actually got a chance to spend a lot of time with them, which was an amazing gift. They're just delightful, amazing people. Plus, of course, he's like part of this like Hollywood history, so he has these amazing stories. So
I'm sure.
Is that the one that was remade with Liam Neeson?
Yes. Yeah, I only saw bits and pieces of the remake. The remake just looked like they went overboard with all the CGI. The original the CGI. The original really has no special effects. It's all psychological. It's all in your head, and it's just frightening. It's really just truly frightening.
Wow.
So those are two films that really affected me from a very early age. I was
those are pretty deep films.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah.
That's great, though. We were kind of the same way growing up. Like, my mom was really, huge into the old school, like, black and white films, and especially like the comedians and Charlie Chaplin and Laurel and Hardy and that kind of stuff. So it was a wonder that we paid attention to these films. But there was just something. I think it was the whole concept of just kind of being whisked away somewhere else for a little while and kind of going along the journey and the ride, and just paying attention, because most kids, you fumble about, you're not really paying attention, you're like, like your attention span is only so much. So that's really cool that you took to those films.
I had a really fascination with psychological dramas and horror films from the time I was very young.
Right, and that's something that you had, that
hard to believe.
Yeah. No, that seed was planted.
It kind of explains a lot, doesn't it?
It does. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Certainly does.
So you've also chosen some pretty interesting music for the show.
Thank you.
And speaking of music, you are also in a Metallica video for their song "King Nothing."
Yes. Yeah, which we actually shot. We shot that like 2,000 feet above Park City in Utah in the actual snow. That is not shot on a soundstage. That's actually shot out, actually in the snow. Yeah, it was pretty wild. Just days before Christmas, like back in 1997, I believe is when it was.
Wow.
97, was it 97? It may have been 96. Anyways, it was a while ago. The way I came about to do that is that was Matt Mahern was the director on that, and Matt I'd worked with on a number of different music videos. I don't know if he's still making music videos. He's a brilliant brilliant artist and director and visionary. He designed a lot of the unusual covers for Time magazine are often done by Matt Mahern. Check it out. Like when there's an unusual cover, check out the artist. Sometimes you'll see it. It'll be Matt.
Okay.
But he and I worked on almost a half a dozen different music videos when I was living in New York. I was in New York at that time.
What other music videos have you done?
Oh, let's see. Well, I did, the first one I did with Matt was Cycle Sluts from Hell, their hit single, I Wish You Were a Beer.
I know that band. I know them.
Yeah, well, check out their music video, I Wish You Were a Beer. I'm in it.
Awesome. Yeah, we will. No, I'm telling you, like, that's why I'm asking, because I'm about to go and YouTube and
that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. I did a Def Leppard video with them, Stand Up, Kick, Love, and Emotion, where I'm literally running up the side of buildings and things like that. It was pretty wild. Yeah, he was very, very ahead of his time. What else did we do? We did Angry Chair. I did some shadow work on Angry Chair for Alice in Chains, and then shortly after that, Alice in Chains, there was another hit single. Sorry to say, I'm a little foggy tonight, but I don't remember the name of the song. But I was in that one, and gosh, what else? So there's a fair number of different ones. Those are the ones that I remember. I'm sure there are other ones as well. But.
Yeah. No, that's great though.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I mean, Matt and I had such a great relationship. He used to say, dude, I'd love to put you in all my music videos, but it's like it'd be like, wait a minute, who's this guy that's in all your music videos? Yeah. Oh, we also did the Bullet Boys. We did the Bullet Boys.
Oh wow! I remember that.
It's like this crazy guy, riding around in a muscle car late at night. I don't even remember the name. Oh God, what was it? It was Hang on St. Christopher or something like that, or.
Craziness.
Yeah, that was that was fun too.
Wow, that those names is just total flashback to
Yeah.
Growing up and stuff, and the Bullet Boys I remember, Cycle Sluts from Hell, and I was just like, wow.
Pretty wild, yeah.
Take me back. Very cool, very cool. So let's talk about your acting career a little bit.
Sure.
So you lived in New York for a while, so you're in you're East Coast anyway, as am I. I'm actually born.
Yeah, I lived in New York for 15 years. Lived in Manhattan for 3 of those years, and then 12 of those years I lived in Brooklyn.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I'm from the Bronx. Yeah. What's up, the boroughs?
I love living in Brooklyn. I lived in Carroll Gardens, old family Italian neighborhood. I love that. I love that neighborhood.
Yeah. Do you miss it?
I do.
Yeah, I do too. I do love the West Coast, though. I'm quite fond of it, but there's a lot about the East Coast I miss quite a bit. Quite a bit. Friends, family, food. That good stuff. Pizza. Come on.
Yeah, it's funny. When I moved to LA, I actually stopped eating pizza because it was just, you get so spoiled in LA. You can walk into it's like even like the little cruddy little places in the subway make these amazing pizza, and then you get to LA and it's like you really can't find really good pizza. Although it's hard to find good burritos in New York, and of course there's great taquerias all over LA. So it's a trade-off,
You do. You have to trade one thing for something else, because then
oh my God, I love me a good carne asada taco, or carnitas taco. Oh yeah, baby, yeah. With some tomatillo sauce. Oh yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. And do you like it spicy?
It depends on my mood. I go back and forth. Yeah.
I see. I'm the same way. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
So when did you first move out to Hollywood then?
I moved out to LA in '97.
Okay.
So it's been 15 years.
Wow.
15 years this past summer.
Right.
So yeah, 15 years, like in around June or July. Yeah.
Oh wow. And what's your take on the whole acting scene these days?
That's a really wide question. I'm not sure.
Isn't it?
Yeah. What exactly? What aspect are you asking about?
Well, I mean, I don't know, the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, like, what do you what's your take on it? It seems like the indie films are doing really well.
What do you think about actors like Tom Hanks and John Leguizamo? I'm just kidding.
Oh, man.
Well, the act. It's a funny world. I mean, it's always changing. I mean, unfortunately, salaries for all industries have gone down over the last 20 to 30 years. So it shouldn't surprise us that the same thing has happened in the film industry. Now, that's not necessarily true with the top earners, the people that come in, that are, the stars of the film, but the everyday actors, the actual everyday, working actors, they're actually making less money now. Believe it or not, they are. I mean, it's almost everybody's working for scale now. A lot of people don't realize, just because you see somebody on television, unless they're a series regular, they're really probably not making a lot of money. I'm like, to give you an example, the guy that played Newman on Seinfeld, that was not a regular role. He was a guest star recurring role, which means, he wasn't, I'm sure he wasn't poor on it, but he wasn't making massive amounts of money on that role.
Right.
And everybody sees him on television and goes, "Oh, the guy's a millionaire." Well, maybe he is now because of. I don't know where he is. I don't know what his finances are now. I don't know.
Right.
But I just know that most of the people we see on TV are middle class working actors.
Right.
People don't get that. It's weird. They think we're all living, in massive houses in Hollywood Hills.
Like you're all pimped out. Everybody.
Yeah, it's like no, actually, it's not true. I mean, a good friend of mine who was on several major shows a while back. I don't really want to say his name, but the last 3 or 4 years he was having trouble paying his rent and feeding his kids. I mean, he's now back on a major show again, so he's doing okay. But there was a number of years there where things had really fallen into the crapper, and he's way up the food chain from me. So it's it's a pretty crazy thing. So it's. I don't know. I'm hoping that things are getting better. It's been an odd time. I mean, usually when economic crisis hits in this country, generally our industry is immune from it. It's not been the case in this economic downturn.
Right.
At all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like several of our past guests have made mention to that same thing, that how much the industry's really changed, and how things are expected to be done on like little to nothing at all. And
I mean, it's not. I mean, I think somebody sent me a little Kickstarter thing recently. I said, "Oh yeah, it sounds fun," and being the actor that I am, I said, "Hey, are you still casting? Is there any interesting roles?" He said, "Yeah, if you give us $300 to our Kickstarter, I'll write you a great role." And I'm like, and I wrote back to him. I said, "I think you're confused.
Yeah.
You, the producer, pay me, the actor, to work. I don't pay you to work in your film."
Yeah.
And I just thought, are you friggin' shitting me? Really?
Yeah.
Seriously? But that's the weird attitude. The attitude is like, "Oh, you're so desperate, you'll work. You'll not just work for free. You'll pay me to work.
You'll pay me to be in my movie." Yeah.
And he was totally serious, and I was just like, "My friend, I think you're confused here." You know?
You're like.
But unfortunately, I suspect there are probably actors out there that are doing that. Guys, all those actors that are listening, don't do that. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. What are you stupid? It's like you're going to pay to work? I mean, come on. Come on.
I mean,
so, that's
it's
ridiculous.
Be the reverse. Yeah, and I've seen that a lot in a few Kickstarter campaigns for these like up and coming projects. Like, oh, if you give us $1,000, we'll give you 10 minutes of FaceTime in our movie, and it's sad.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it is sad. Or a friend of mine was producing a film recently. It was a couple months ago, and she was like, hey, we have some new roles, and then, well, it turns out, yeah, but they're not paying, and it's non-union. And I'm like, well, I don't work in non-union work, and I don't do non-paid work, so no. I mean, I thank you for offering it, but I can't take that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a weird attitude that even my friends are now like, they just assume, oh, you're an actor, you work for free.
You're like,
no. You got me confused with somebody else.
Well, they probably think you'll do it for free because you're their friend.
There's that too.
Yeah.
And no, sorry, folks. No.
Sorry,
And it's funny. There's certainly lots of low budget films that are fun to work on, but boy, they're paying scale, which is often $100 a day.
Yeah. And you're like, and then Uncle Sam takes his piece, and then
you can't really live on that. So
exactly.
it's a funny time in the industry. I mean, let's face it, being an actor has always been a difficult time. I mean, I think no matter when in history, the majority of actors are probably always out of work. But it's an interesting time right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to, everyone has to live and eat and, pay the rent and do what they got to do.
Yeah.
It's like, come on now, it's still a business, baby.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully things will start to, evolve into a better place. And
don't get me wrong. I don't mean to be the naysayer or that,
no,
I mean, it's not all bad. There's certainly lots of great projects still out there, and the ones that I've worked on in recent years that have been really quite wonderful, and I was happy to be working on them. So don't get me wrong. I'm not. It's not all doom and gloom.
No, but the problem is like so many filmmakers out there want you to work for free. Want actors to.
Yeah, like everyone's training.
They want everything for free.
Yeah,
I do understand if it's a personal friend and you really want to do them a favor, or if you're a starting out actor that needs some face time. I do understand that.
Sure.
But if you're a seasoned actor, I don't see the point of that.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand that. It doesn't make sense to me.
Absolutely.
But oh well.
Yes. Indeed.
So I want to hear all about your work in the iconic TV series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I actually did some extra work in Buffy the Vampire Slayer back in 2001.
Oh, good Lord! Wow.
Yeah.
So what, season 3? Is that what it was?
Oh, I don't know.
No, 2001. That would have been season 6, probably.
Huh. I've never even seen the episode I was in, but I didn't back then. I didn't even know who Sarah Michelle Gellar was, and they had me sitting right next to her in that scene, and I didn't even know her.
Oh, that's funny.
They told me
that's
afterwards,
funny.
"Wow, you got to sit right next to her."
Yeah,
I was like, "Who?"
Star of the
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Goodness.
Yeah. So, how did that come to be part of?
Well, the original role that I auditioned for was one of the gentlemen back in 1999 for the episode Hush, and that actually came through my agent at the time. I think they were having trouble casting the roles, and I got a call that they wanted to see me that evening at 6:00, and I was just like, that's very quick. Usually, you get a day or two lead time, and I'm like, well, today? Well, what about a script? And they're like, there is no script. Just go. It's an improv. And I'm like, okay. So so that's how that came about. And I went in and did a little improv and scared Joss.
Nice.
So I thought, okay, you've either gotten the role or you think I'm a total psycho, but or both. But so I got cast in that, and actually that's where I first met Doug Jones, who's became good friends, and we've been good friends ever since.
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful man and incredibly talented actor. So had the pleasure of working with him, and of course the pleasure of working with Joss on set for the entire, because Joss wrote and directed Hush, so we were on the set with him every day and working with him every day and having meals with him, and that was an incredible gift. What was funny about that show, though, was that the cast was actually, they were scared of us, particularly Amber Benson. That was her first episode on the show, but a lot of the cast they kind of avoided us, so we didn't really get to know the cast very well. It was kind of funny. I think Mark Lucas, who played Riley, he was very, hey, it's great to have you guys here, and we were chatting. But most of the other cast they were like kind of avoiding us.
Wow, they were like,
yeah,
we're gonna stay over here.
Yeah, so it wasn't until later, when I worked on the show later, where I got to know, Allie, and I got to know, Sarah, and I got to know, James Marsters, and those are the three that I worked with probably the most on the show. Certainly, I worked with Michelle Trachtenberg, and I worked with Nick, Nicholas Brendan, but I didn't have as many scenes with him. I didn't work with him as much. But I got to really know James and Sarah and Allie pretty well. Just had a wonderful time with them. But there was a lag time of 3 years between that and the next role. And the next role, actually, I was in the middle of cutting a feature film called Zen Noir with Kim Chan. And my acting career was kind of in a crapper for a while there, so I was mostly just editing for a couple years there. And excuse me, I'm sorry. Got a call from Lonnie Hammerman, one of the casting directors of the show. And here again, they were having trouble casting a role. It was the role of Gnarl in Same Time, Same Place, the skin-eating demon. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, somebody in casting or writing or producing somewhere remembered me and said, "Hey, how about that Camden? He's kind of creepy, I guess I never really got a full
creepy dude.
I never got the full story about how that came about, but they called me directly on it. I had not talked to them in quite some time.
Wow.
And they had me come in and audition, but I picked up the script on a Friday, went in to read on Monday. So I had the entire weekend to play with it, which was really helpful because I don't know if you remember that episode, but it's a really rich, wonderful role. So I got to really play with it and kind of let things be revealed to me over the course of an entire weekend.
Right.
So by the time I went in to audition for it, I was having probably way too much fun with it.
No, that's wonderful, though. I mean, it's great stuff.
Yeah, it was such a wonderful script. Jane Espenson wrote that script. And good Lord, it's just I was just when I got it, I was just like, wow, this is a role, because he's literally the Hannibal Lecter of the demon world, and that is no pun intended. That's an incredibly delicious role to play.
Yeah.
So you played several different roles on Buffy. I bet it was hard to recognize you without the makeup.
Yeah, in fact, I remember this one time. We were shooting at night, and I think they'd already been shooting during the day. So I came in because usually I'm in there hours before anybody else is. So usually they're just seeing me in makeup. But one day they had me in, I guess shortly before one of the meals, and they were like, "Yeah, we're about to have a meal. We're not gonna get you in the makeup yet. Why don't you just go have dinner?" I went, "Okay." So I get in the line, and I think literally several, crew guys were like, "Who is this guy in the line?"
Just walked in off the street.
Yeah, exactly. They thought maybe it was some guy who just, exactly, because sometimes that does happen. It's like, "Oh, free food. Hey, I'm chowing down." And somebody goes, "No, that's Camden." He was like, "Who?" The guy that. Yeah. So, that was kind of a funny situation. So things like that. But yeah, generally I get there hours before everybody else, and I'm there hours after everybody's gone because it'll take 4 or 5 hours to get it on, and then at night it'll take another hour to an hour to have to take off.
Yeah.
So it's rare anybody's around to see it. I mean, literally, I'm playing the Uber Vamp later that season, and literally, Sarah and I are sitting around talking late one night in between one of the takes because there's setups, and she literally suddenly she goes, I still don't know what you look like. I was like, oh, that must be creepy.
I still don't know who you are.
Yeah, because by that point we had actually, spent a fair amount of time together, so we kind of were starting to get to know each other. But suddenly she was like, oh my God, I don't even know what he looks like. Every time I work with him, he's already in full makeup by the time he steps on. Yeah, it's like so. Yeah. So her makeup artist actually came in and asked Rob, my makeup guy, if he had a headshot of me.
So she can put the real face to the voice.
Yeah, so she could And later we got a chance to spend some time when I was out of makeup. But it was just a funny evening. I remember I was like, oh, that must be weird.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. And then you were also in Angel as well.
Yeah, they had me come in the season 5 of Angel as the Prince of Lies, it's a flashback episode to World War II. Takes place on a German submarine, and he's this old, decrepit Nosferatu-esque vampire who's just kind of confused.
Doesn't know what's going on.
He's really crotchety, and he's basically a geriatric vampire.
He's a crotchety vampire.
Yeah, but unfortunately, those geriatric vampires are still very powerful, but they're just like you think they're frail, but not so much.
That's funny. He was an old crotch pie.
Oh, he was. He was so much. It was so much fun because he was creepy, but he was really the comic relief for the episode. So I got to play comedy on the show in a way I hadn't gotten a chance to play before. So that was a really fun kind of twist.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
And Joss Whedon is quite the creative genius. What's he like to work with? What was he like?
Joss, on the set is, when we were shooting Hush, he was incredibly even-tempered and even-handed. I mean, you got to know. I mean, it was season 4. It was the first season for Angel. He's writing and directing this episode. I doubt if the guy got any sleep during the entire time. I was showing up hours before everybody else was, and he was already there. I was just like, how can that be? And it was crazy. And yet there was never any drama. If something wasn't working right, he was like, well, we got to move on. He was just very even keeled, and I love his directing. His directing style is pretty much, we're going to let you do what we've hired you to do, and occasionally he would make adjustments, but they were very minor adjustments. Because he never said this to me, but I suspect he probably is one of those directors that really feels that 95% of directing is in the casting. And I don't know who said that originally, but it's a famous quote, 98 or 95, whatever the percent is. But it's a very high percent. But I think that's true. What it's saying is if you get the right actor, you pretty much just need to get out of their way and let them do their work.
Right.
And if you have to micromanage a performance, chances are you probably didn't hire the right actor.
Yeah, I was going to say you probably don't have the right person. Yeah.
Tim Burton must suck as a director.
And also in television, you have to know what we do in the audition is very similar to what we do on the show, because we don't have, unlike a feature film, we don't have time or money to develop that. So what we walk in with is often very close to what we use on the show.
Right. One of our friends in chat, Miss Chrissy Kringle.
Hey, Chrissy.
Hey, girl. She is wondering if the sing-song way that Gnarl spoke was in the script, or if that's something that you improvised.
It's been years, so Jane, forgive me if I'm misspeaking on this, but my memory is that was something I discovered while I was playing with the dialogue, that it was not something that was described in it. I think what happened was I was playing with it, and suddenly I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of like, I'm kind of taunting her. What if I did like a child would do, never encountered the city. I was like, and suddenly I was like, oh yeah, baby. So that's my memory of it. But here again, like I said, if I'm misspeaking, and Jane was, no, I described that in the script. Forgive me if that's the case, but that's my memory of it. But it's been over 10 years, so.
Wow. Yeah. No, because you gotta, you gotta find it. You gotta find something about it.
Well, in television scripts, even more so than feature film scripts, they don't have as much description often. Because they're put together much quicker, turnaround's much quicker. Yeah, so things like that, there's often not description, although one of the things they did describe in the script was that screeching sound that I made when I was attacking to paralyze my victims.
Yeah.
She did describe that, and the way she described it that was described as just sort of a tea kettle whistling sound. Like every time he was coming, there was this tea kettle. I think it was a tea kettle screeching or whistling. I can't remember the exact word she used.
That's interesting.
So I remember thinking, pardon me?
That's an interesting way to describe it.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, Camden, if you don't come up with some kind of sound for this, they're going to add something in the mix, and it's going to be totally out of your hands. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's like, and so I, as the actor, I want to control as much of my performance as possible.
Right.
So I came up with this. Well, you've heard it. It's this loud, crazy screech that I do. I remember the first time I did it on set, everybody was like, "Holy shit!" What it was like, yeah, and they kept it. They did very little. Augmenting of it in the sound mix. They kept it pretty close to the way I performed it on set.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so that was definitely described in the script, and I came up with that sound for it.
That's something to be able to kind of replicate that in a way that kind of gets right to the point.
Yeah.
Well, it took me a little while to play with it. I was like, how can I? What would be? I wasn't really sure. So I had to play with a number of different things until I found the right fit for it. But when I found it, it was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like that's it. That's the money shot.
Oh yeah. It was. Yeah, that was really fun. That was one of those roles to me that I had so much fun because Gnarl kept revealing himself to me as I played. The more I played with that role, the more things kept getting revealed, and the more they added to it, the more kept being revealed. It's like, we added the teeth, and then suddenly something else happened, and then they added the finger extensions. I'm like, oh, what can I do with the line?
Right.
Wait till I wrap a gift. It's like that.
Yeah.
So it was one of those wonderful things where the script and my work on the script, and then the makeup design and Rob's application of the makeup, and it's just on and on. It just was all these different layers. So by the time I walked on set, I mean, everybody was kind of like, "Holy shit, what are we giving birth to here?"
Yeah.
It was a really. I'm very proud of that role because it's such a fully realized character, and that doesn't always happen in television because we don't have a lot of time to develop roles on television. Its turnaround is very quick, so I'm very proud of that role. That's probably one of my favorite roles that's on film. Yeah,
as it should be. I mean, it's a great character.
I love that role.
Yeah.
And Doug Jones was extremely complimentary of it. He hadn't seen it at one point. I remember saying, "Hey, we were at a party one night." I said, and they were like watching different videos. I said, "Doug, this is a great time to watch that." He went, "Oh yeah." So we went, "Hey," to our host, "You had that?" And they were, "Of course we had that episode." So we put it on, and Doug was like, "Oh my God!" Doug was so complimentary. He was like, he said it's become one of his favorite prosthetic makeup characters performances he's seen.
Wow,
which is
that's
incredibly complimentary of him to say.
Yeah,
that was, very generous and very sweet of him to say. Wow,
that's nice. So you guys are very good friends then.
Yeah, we stayed really good friends. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. He's up in Vancouver shooting. He's a season regular on the 3rd season of Falling Skies.
Oh wow.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He made the announcement when we were doing the Chicago Comic-Con in August.
Oh, nice.
And then, I think a week and a half later, he was like flying to Vancouver.
There I go.
It was quick. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and you're also a writer. Have you been writing anything that we should know about, or have
I have not. I have not written anything in years. It's really that's not true. Anything that I've written in years, anything I put out there. Mostly what I wrote for years was solo theater, which I did a lot. I did 5. I developed and performed 5 different full-length solo theater pieces over the period of about 5-6 years between 1989 and 1995.
Okay.
That I would develop in New York, mostly at a little theater. It was one of the founding members of called NADA, and I would then take it on tour. I'd take it to Chicago or San Francisco or Seattle or Minneapolis or wherever. I mean, there was a number of different cities I was taking them to. But that was something that was an amazing time, because being on stage for anywhere from, I think the shortest piece was a 45-minute piece, the longest was an hour and a half, and you're the whole show.
Wow.
I think my favorite show was a show I did called Terminal Lunch, which was a series of 12 monologues in 1 hour. So it was like the blackouts between the monologues were like mere eye blinks. It happened so quickly, boom, 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 and they were all the monologues weren't necessarily connected. I mean, the only thing that really connected them was the sort of the feel, the kind of the ambiance of each one, because each character was sort of in cages of their own devising. They were, that was that kind of thing.
Right.
And it was called Terminal Lunch. It was just a really...
It's a great title.
Yeah, really. Well, it's so funny. I found that title because I was visiting my father in Pittsburgh years ago when he was still alive, and we were driving past the train station. He started joking. He said, "Oh, look, Terminal Lunch," and I said, "That's so funny." And I turned. There actually was a sign that said Terminal Lunch.
Right.
And I was just like, "Oh my God, you're kidding! There actually was a sign."
Perfect.
I wish I'd taken a picture. Oh my God! But I remember that, and years later used it as a title for one of my shows.
Wow!
Because it so perfectly described that show.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Terminal Lunch sounds wonderful.
Yeah, but I've written a number of screenplays that have never been produced, and I don't know. It's probably time for me to start writing again. I'm feeling like that, but I haven't recently. I just haven't. I just keep talking about it in my head. So I guess it's time to start actually putting my money where my mouth is, so to speak.
Yeah, maybe you should start revisiting some of those ideas and seeing what's what.
Probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, Bob.
It just might be time to start writing again.
Yes, I think that was very Shatner of you.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a short break and play another song. This one is called Gregorian Chant by Enigma. And this song it was pretty huge when it first came out because it was so different and cool. So it was very cool.
Yes, it was.
So
tell
us about why you chose this song. It's so funny. That was something that I remember. I think I first heard that my friend, an old friend of mine from high school, used to play when she used to paint in her studio. And I was living in New York at the time, so we're probably talking about probably the 80s, I think, probably. And she used to have her painting studio in San Francisco, overlooking downtown San Francisco. It was just a beautiful studio. And often when I'd show up there at her studio, I visited her quite frequently. She would have that playing.
That was
so there was some, yeah. It was kind of the soundtrack to her studio. She seemed to always have Enigma playing, so I don't know. I just remembered it, and I thought, I haven't heard that in a while. That'd be kind of fun.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, Camden, speaking of deliciousness, I was wondering if you like to cook, and if so, what are some of your favorite go-to foods or snackies?
I do like to cook. I used to be the chef owner of a French restaurant in San Francisco back in the late 1970s. Actually, in recent years, I'm really partial to cooking Chinese food. Sort of kind of peasant, Cantonese cooking. Keep it very simple with, greens and different meats and, and garlic black bean sauces, and I just love, the simplicity of Asian, cooking, particularly, Chinese, Cantonese cooking.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. I'm also a chef as well. That's my day job.
What kind of food?
Well, right now I'm working at a Vietnamese restaurant here in San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Where?
I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, good Lord. What Vietnamese restaurant in San Francisco? Are you shitting me? Really? Which one?
Yeah.
I love San Francisco. I mean, I try to get to San Francisco as often as I can. I haven't been there in a while, but I love the Vietnamese restaurants in San Francisco.
Yeah. This one's off of Fillmore, and it's called Banh Mi, and it's been open for about a year and a half. And it's a really, really cool place. Like they do the Vietnamese sandwiches, and they're totally revamping their menu, and adding some stuff. Yeah.
Do you guys make a nice, strong Vietnamese iced coffee?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Very, very strong. I'm kind of
love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. It's great. It's really cool fusion stuff. And
where is it? Is it actually on Fillmore, or is it?
Yeah.
What's the address again?
You can look it up. It's called Banh Mi, Bunmee. And yeah, it's great. It's a great place. Really cool.
Like, is it in the Fillmore? Is it down towards Haight, or what area of the city is it?
I would say it's in the Fillmore, like right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Wow, that's become such a revitalized area in the last 10 to 20 years too. It's unbelievable.
Cute restaurants, very cute restaurants around there.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
It's nice to be able to walk around and be like, oh, we can go here, we can go there, get a good burger, get some French. There's some great
and you guys are so spoiled in San Francisco. There's so many amazing restaurants. And also not only amazing restaurants, but there's amazing bakeries, incredible breads baked there.
Yes.
I mean, the variety of different breads that are baked there just blows my mind. I love that.
It's pretty crazy, especially in the morning, because I work early morning, so the smell of bread is just all creation. It's really nice.
Amazing. It's an amazing city. I lived there for 6 years, and it still feels very much like home to me.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I felt that way when I first moved here as well. Like, there was no culture shock whatsoever. I moved out here years ago when I was 18, and kind of kept going back and forth between New York and here, and Southern California, and I don't know. There's just something about San Francisco that always felt very familiar.
It's pretty amazing. There's something very special about it. Yeah.
I was born here.
Damn. Not many people you meet like that. Usually, when I lived there, the first thing you'd ask people, you meet like, hey, so where are you from? Because you just figured they weren't born and raised there. And once in a blue moon, they say, oh, I'm from here, but almost never. It's kind of funny. I don't know if that's still true, but it was such a transitory place back in the 70s, I remember.
Yeah. I feel like New York is like that, too. It's very, not everybody's from there.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, most people are transplants from God knows where.
Yeah.
Different places and stuff. But, so I always like to incorporate, a food question into the show, because, some people get a little thrown off by it. They're like, oh, well, I just opened a can of Chef Boyardee, which is, hey, I can get down on some Chef Boyardee, don't get me wrong, I don't knock it, I love that stuff, but it's people thinking about what they like to eat, what they don't like, and, things like that. So I just, I like to ask those questions to pull that out of people. But that's cool because, you mentioned that earlier, and that kind of, I was like, hey, what, winery? What was that? You have to have a winery?
It was a small, I worked in the wine business as a wine buyer at a little wine and cheese shop actually down in the Embarcadero years ago.
Oh, fun.
And then I worked in the wholesale wine business for a wine importer in New York for about 6 years when I lived in New York. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing time.
Goodness. Well, you've done a lot.
That's right.
You've done
That's
quite
for sure.
So, any groovy plans for Halloween?
I don't have any plans yet, and the reason I don't have any plans right now because it's right in between this convention, which I'm doing this weekend. I'm doing a convention called Fanboy Expo in Knoxville, Tennessee, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 26th, 27th, 28th, and then I come, and then shortly after that, I'm shooting a film in Texas. So I'm kind of in the middle of working on that film mostly. So I haven't really made any plans because my head is still kind of in con mode and then in film mode is kind of thing. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I'm sure I'll spend some time with some friends because most of my friends are just it's like their Christmas, New Year's, birthday all wrapped up into one. Halloween is. But and for me too, I love Halloween. But I don't know. I don't have any specific plans as of right now. Sorry to say.
Oh no, it's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Well, I'd like to hear a bit about some of your more recent projects. Talk to us about Goodnight, Burbank, and The Bay.
Well, they were both really. I mean, Goodnight Burbank was originally it was originally written as the first full-length half-hour sitcom made for the web. It was originally contracted by Hulu, and we shot a very short first season. As Hayden Black, the executive producer, would say, it's an English season. It was like 6 episodes.
Right.
Amazing cast, and we had Laura Silverman from the Sarah Silverman program. We had Dominic Monaghan from Lost. We had Miracle Laurie from Dollhouse. It was just amazing cast. I mean, an incredible guest stars. I mean, Juliette Landau was a guest star. Jim Rash, who won the Academy Award for writing the screenplay to Descendants, he was one of our guest stars. Really funny guy. And John Barrowman from Torchwood was on a couple of times. So it was just an amazing set to work on. But it was originally, like I said, it was originally written as the first full-length half-hour sitcom for the web. And the first episode it was up on the web, Mark Cuban saw it and went, "I've got to have it." So he contacted the executive producer on the show and said, "I want the entire first season." So it ran on HDNet for a season.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it actually ran on a major cable network, which was great. That was really, I mean, when you saw it, you're like, oh yeah. To see it on a cable feed, you're like, oh right.
Yeah.
It's like, of course, because that was, we shot it all in high def, so it was, it was fine for that. But it just wasn't originally written for that. But
right.
But it was written very much in that same vein, though, in that it was written half-hour episode, which is actually with commercials. It's 22 minutes. So there were specific pauses, and Goodnight Burbank, for those of you who haven't seen it, is this really fun world. It's kind of the hijinks that happens before, during, and after this news broadcast called Goodnight Burbank. And I play the kind of wonky Estonian television director who used to direct porn in communist Estonia. And his grasp of the English language is tenuous at best. Did I lose you guys?
No, we're still here.
Oh, okay.
We're hanging on every word.
Okay. Wasn't sure. Suddenly I thought, cell phone. Sometimes you're not sure. Anyway, it was just a really fun role. It's a role that I don't get to play comedic roles very often. So when Hayden Black had asked me to do the role, I was just thrilled. But so there was just a lot of humor, from the fact that this guy's grasp of the English language is really kind of tenuous at best. So he's constantly saying the wrong things. So that was a really fun role to play. And The Bay is an online soap opera that Gregory Martin created, and has practically every iconic soap actor and actress in the business is on this show. I mean,
yeah, I was going to say that there's some, because my mom was huge into soaps, and I was like, I recognize that guy, and I recognize her, and
oh, it's on and on. It's like, I think there were only 3 of us that really weren't from the soap world. I mean, everybody else is like, they're not just soap actors, they're like iconic soap actors. So I'm working with these amazing people from the business, and he wrote this role that he asked me to play, where it's just one of the bigger scenery-chewing villains I've played in a while. And, Igor Chambers, and it was just so much fun to play. I mean, he was such a delicious... I know. So, in fact, it was very funny. I think that one of our first takes we did, because I'm kind of like the first while I'm on set, I'm kind of lurking in the background of a number of different shots. So nobody knew what I was exactly going to do with the role. So when I kind of opened my mouth and I kind of just chewing the friggin' scenery, Mary Beth Evans actually came up to me after one of the takes and said, "You've put the opera back into soap opera," which I just loved. I was just like, "Thank you." That was a huge compliment. I was like, "Wow."
That's a very nice compliment.
Yeah, but it's really fun, and that was that they're about to gear up on their 3rd season now. We were just nominated for a Daytime Emmy Award this season, which was really exciting. So yeah, I mean, and it was funny because we were actually shooting some of those episodes simultaneously. I was shooting some of Goodnight Burbank and the Bay simultaneously. I remember, and a lot of Goodnight Burbank was night shoots, so it wouldn't be unusual. I would be shooting at night. They'd finally wrap me at like 3 or 4 in the morning. I go home, I get 2 hours of sleep. I get up and then have to be on set the next morning.
Oh wow!
Crazy. And one of them is this wonky Estonian guy who's constantly saying, "Okay, no, you have to do the cum shots," and it's like everybody's like, "What? The shot is comes next. Does nobody speak the English here?" To Igor Chambers, who's like who's just basically a total insane, character. It's
wow.
really fun. Yeah, really
Igor
fun.
Chambers.
So you also have some upcoming appearances. You're going to be at Fanboy Expo pretty soon, right?
This weekend, yeah. This weekend, yeah.
Ah.
This weekend. What are the dates? The 26th and
26th, 27th, 28th. It's Fanboy Expo, and it's in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's check out the website. Just if you can't find it, just just Google Fanboy Expo, Knoxville, Tennessee. It'll come up. It's a wonderful array of different actors and comic book artists and authors are going to be there. It's going to be a really fun weekend. So, guys, if you're anywhere near there or if you have the money and you can fly in, come on in. It's going to be a really fun weekend.
Very cool.
Hey, why not? Occasionally we do have people come in from afar for these things.
Oh,
yeah,
I know people that do that. Yeah, they follow the cons. They sure do.
Oh my God, there was a couple gals when we were in Chicago Comic-Con that had come from Austria.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty amazing. Yeah, I mean we had a number of different fans like that were from foreign countries. So
I mean that's some dedication right there.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's always thrilling. I say, really? Did you come for this? They, oh yeah, we came for this. I'm like, oh, wow, thank you.
Very fun. So I saw a poster on your Facebook page for this movie called The Vortex.
Yeah. That is a really fun, over the top. Kind of, how would you describe it? Yeah. Well, it's like the films on the Sci-Fi Channel where you have the big bugs and monsters and wormholes. It's kind of in that genre. It's kind of, it's kind of like cheesy fun, but it's a really well-written script, and it's really, they were very smart in that, the 3 leads in it, they cast really good actors in it. So, it's a really fun romp of a film, and that's in post right now. They're doing the sound mix actually practically as we speak. Because I just did some additional ADR for it this weekend. Yesterday, in fact, yeah. But that's going to be really fun.
Nice.
And I don't know what the distribution is going to be for it. I don't know if it's going to show up on cable or just direct to DVD yet. I don't really know. But you definitely check that out, because if you like those, over the top, fun, silly, sci-fi, romps. And I play a mad scientist. Gee, a bit of stretch there, huh?
Perfect.
Oh my God! I had so much fun on that set, and it was one of the few sets that, it was super low budget, and we shot it in 11 days. I don't think there was one sore ass in the cast or crew. I mean, we had, because usually there's one or two, where you're going, oh, that guy is insufferable, it's like, if you don't want to be here, why are you here? You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We all had a great time. We all really enjoyed each other's company. We all enjoyed working with each other. It was just amazing.
Wonderful.
The writer-director, Peter Bassler, he was a delight to work with, and he put together an amazing cast and crew for it. So, yeah.
Really?
Cool. Can you tell us about the movie?
Sorry, you're breaking up there. Say that again.
Hold on, your audio's a little wonky.
A little wonky?
Oh, no.
It's you're on delay. Yeah. Now I'm on delay. On delay.
Okay. Well.
Okay. Well, I'll ask a question.
Oh, that's weird. He's breaking up there.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. know about the movie Monster School?
Yeah, Monster School we're going to probably be shooting that sometime early next year. It's Len McLeod is the writer-producer on it. He won a Saturn Award for he produced the remake of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which, if you have not seen it, it's really exciting. It's a really fun, and it's a very unusual approach to it. I don't want to say too much. I would just really recommend seeing it.
Awesome.
But he won a Saturn Award for that, and this is something he wrote with a number of us in mind. It's really a fun, and I don't know how much of the premise I'm allowed to talk about yet. So I know we can announce it. I'm just not sure how much of the actual premise we're allowed to. So I'm not going to go into the actual premise of the film. Just suffice to say, it's got a cast to die for. I mean, including Tony Todd and
I know Tony Todd. Doug Jones is in it too, right?
Doug Jones and Claire Kramer and Richie Bannister and the list just goes on.
Yeah.
And on. So it's going to be a fun film to work on. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, and that's a real labor of love for Len. So I'm really looking forward to working with him on that.
Awesome. And what other goodies can we expect to see from you in the upcoming year?
Well, we just signed the contracts a couple weeks ago for this comedy romance superhero movie. Called Now Hiring, which we're shooting in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
And it's really, I have to say, the director, Mark Cantu, called me directly and said he had a script. And, I get a lot of scripts, and I have to tell you, a lot of them are not great. So, but that's the nature of the beast. That's just the nature. So he called me. It was a while ago, and I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll take a look at it." And delightful script, wonderful role. And I had to say yes to it. So,
nice.
But it's going to be really fun. I'm shooting that in Texas. Early November, and I play the supervillain in it.
Oh, wonderful!
yeah, it's really going to be a fun project. So and that's actually there's some prosthetics involved in that, so that'll be kind of interesting. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where can our awesome listeners find you?
Well, actually, and just real quick, I also am going to be working on a project coming up, and we don't have specific shoot dates yet, but a film that Joe Hollow is writing and directing called A Blood Story. And Joe called me a number of weeks ago and said he was writing it, but as he was writing it, he kept hearing my voice as he was writing this character. And I was he said, "Do you mind if I write this for you?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Don't you love? I mean, I love when that happens, when someone's writing it and they the person just appears to them and like, all right, there they are.
I was just really thrilled when he called me because I'd worked with him on a project last year called Disciples, where here again I worked with Tony Todd and Bill Moseley and Angus Scrimm on it, and that was just really exciting, fun project to work on. So we're going to be shooting that sometime probably later in the year. I think there's talk about doing it in December, but I don't know if that's fluid yet or not. I don't know if that's set in stone yet, but that's the talk. Anyways, that's kind of what's on the burner right now. So
awesome. We can't wait to see those things come to life.
Oh yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so let's tell everybody where they can find you and look you up and keep up with you.
Well, probably the easiest place is probably on Facebook and Twitter. My regular page is way over capacity right now, folks, but you can hit subscribe and you can see all my public posts, and all my posts are public. So, and also I have an actor page that you can just hit like on here again, and you can post on that as well. And you can, like, for instance, if you meet me at a convention, you want to post a photo, that's no problem. That's easy to do. And also, I'm also on Twitter, and it's easy to remember because it's my name. It's Camden Toy.
Yes.
So, and there's no other Camden Toy on Facebook. I think there's one other Camden Toy on Twitter. Somebody grabbed my name before I got it, so mine is Camden_Toy. Yeah, I mean, I was just like, really, you took my name, really? I was like, Okay, all right.
Yeah,
so I solved that by just putting an underscore between the two, first name and last name.
People love to do that, like, oh, I'm going to be this person.
Well, the funny thing is they didn't even use it. I mean, I've checked the wall, the page, and it's not even being used. I mean, I'm just like, you expect me to contact you and offer you money for it or something? That's not going to happen, folks. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their motivation was, but and I contacted Twitter about it. Twitter couldn't have given two flying fucks about it. They're just like, it's not our problem. I'm like,
exactly.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So they just created that username out of spite.
Out of spite.
Yeah, I was just like, it's not like it's a pretty common name, okay, folks?
So Boston.
Wouldn't that be funny if it turned out to be his actual name?
Yeah, sure.
Camden Toy. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, we were wondering before we part if you would do a soundbite for us.
Oh yeah, sure.
Wonderful. Whenever you're ready.
And you have to remind me what is it you wanted me to say? I'm sorry.
You can say whatever you want, really, as long as it has the title of the show. It's a bit of a tongue twister, I know, but whatever you fancy to say.
So you wanted me to say you're listening to Phantom Radio? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Phantom Zone Radio Show. Like, I've been stuck with these two crazy bastards for...
Phantom Show Radio. Phantom... Oh, man. Let me bring that up so I can actually read it. The Phantom Zone Radio Show. Yes. Okay, there. Okay. So, I guess we'll do the take here, okay?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Camden Toy, and you are listening to the Phantom Zone Radio Show. Don't go away.
Very cool. Very cool. That was awesome. He was very sinister. He was like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, it was great. So what's going on for Sunday's show, Nikki Nyap?
Yeah, well, Cats and Kittens, we've got another really cool show for you, and we welcome the horrifically awesome power couple Jimmy O and April Burrell.
Oh,
and
nice.
You may know April as her alter ego, Chainsaw Sally. And this hubby and wifey team have a zillion things going on, including some crazy cool films and their upcoming horror musical Silver Scream. And we'll be playing some songs from Silver Scream to give you all a taste of what you can expect from it. So we're really looking forward to hanging out with them on Sunday. So that should be another fun show. Yay.
It sounds like it's going to be another fun show.
Now it.
And of course we have one more song to play. This one's called What Hurts the Most by Rascal Flatts.
It hurt. That's a loaded question. I don't know if we want to answer that one.
So, let's see. Camden, tell us why you chose this one.
Well, I just, I love, Rascal Flatts' unusual use of, harmonies and unusual use of rhythms. I think they just really, and also, not afraid to, use sort of upper register notes and things like that. And the fact that then they turned this really fun, popular song into then a duet. I was just like, wow. So that was, I mean,
and
just
she's got
talk
a great
about.
voice,
I have a great love for performers, and they're great in this song. They really are.
Very cool. Very, very nice. And before we go, Chrissy has one more question for you.
Oh, okay.
She says that you're friends with Mark Ryan, who does tarot decks, like tarot cards and stuff like that. She wants to know if you have any interest in the tarot or occult, or you just play spookies on TV.
I'm always drawn to the artwork of the tarot.
Okay.
I'm not so much drawn to the actual tarot itself, although I do have friends that do read tarot, and actually a few of them that are quite accomplished at it. So
right.
I do get a reading once every few years. I do get a reading. I'm never really sure if it's really helpful or not. It's a little like, did that really? I mean, did that help? Seriously? I mean, it's nice to have the information, but sometimes I kind of walk away going, I'm not sure. Is it helpful? Is it not?
Yeah,
I'm not really sure.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, so it's. I guess for me, the jury's out on whether it's something that actually makes sense to me or not. I have to say I'm very fascinated with it. And Mark put together a whole ancient deck that for those of you that are going to be at Knoxville this weekend, he probably will have some to sell. They're amazing, and if not, you can get them online. But it's an amazing tarot.
Awesome. We'll definitely let folks know about it and keep a lookout at the con for it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Camden, for being on the show tonight. We really had fun. We had a fun time.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. I had a great time.
Yeah, even though you're sick, we're so glad that you were a trooper about it, and you were hacking away at first, but you did it. You did it. Awesome. All right, so we're going to play the song. Thank you so much, everybody. Good night, and we will see you all very, very soon.
Hey,
Sunday,
take care.
right?
Yes, you too.
I think it goes on Sunday.
Yeah. Bye.
Blog Talk Radio, where millions of hosts and listeners gather.